Grace and peace, family. Grace and peace. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom. My at hotel. Namaste. Free the land, beloved. Come on in, come on in, come on in. I don't know if you can hear and see me okay right now. My name is Vicki Dillard, and you are tuned in to my personal channel here at vickydillard.tv. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to welcome all of my longtime subscribers, my day ones, and new folks that are finding us on a regular basis. For those of you that may or may not know, I have been doing this for some time on multiple platforms, and I've helped to build and bring credibility and extraordinary profit to a number of other networks, some of which I am no longer on. I'm on some other networks, some other platforms, and some I'm not. So you're going to be hearing specific changes, legal announcements coming up in due course. So I'm bringing that up now because folks are saying, Vicki, if we're used to seeing you on these other networks for so many years, where can we find you now? So please let everybody know that if they want to watch me live weekly, they can come here to my personal channel that we're growing here at vickydillard.tv. And like I mentioned before, you'll still see my content on some of the other platforms. It just won't be live. Yes. And we'll give you the details of that in due course. But on the count of three, I want you all to hit that thumbs up button, would you, and share. When you do that, it makes it more likely that other folks will know that we're here. And how many of y'all know we have to be very sophisticated and sagacious when we're dealing with some of these platforms that seek to suppress our voices? We are a threat to the powers that shouldn't be. We are a threat to establishment legacy media. They don't want our voices to be heard by you. They don't trust your judgment. America claims that she's all about the First Amendment, right? She claims she's for this, that, and the third, but she does a very devilish public and covert. She operates in a very, and sometimes public and other times very covert manner to suppress our voices. She cloaks it in misinformation. Then they switch it up sometimes to disinformation. Then they tell you, oh, they're concerned about your children watching X, Y, and Z. But then they throw in some other sneaky stuff so they can take away, your civil rights, or they can infringe on your First Amendment rights and some other stuff. And then because there are certain elements of social media in particular that are dark and dirty, and some of us are aware of the fact that there are some very damaging and toxic online media people and individuals, they throw that all in together. So you join them in your complaint, and then they turn around and do impose policies and legislation to silence you and to censor you. So when you give us a big thumbs up, when you like, when you share, you are taking the initiative to help us inform others. So you can just copy the link, share the link. You can just paste the link on social media. You can text it to someone. You can email it to someone. Be creative. And that's your job to expand voices that speak for you. Let me hit the gavel on that. If you don't know, for many years, I am the OG. That means I am the one that originated this thing before I even came online. God, today with the gavel. Some 18 plus years ago. The home of the hand claps and the gavel raps. That means that I believe that we're holding court here. And I want you to know that this gavel is not a tool that should be used just by the oppressive class and by your legislators and your governmental officials. I want you to know that your word matters and we make matter. Yes. So on the count of three, hit that thumbs up button, would you, and share. 1, 2, 3, thumbs up. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Now, family, I have to say, some years ago, I broke this news about the fraud that this lady named Jane Elliott is. Now, I want you all to get, like I said, be sure to share this broadcast. If you pull up the receipts, the records, so like to meet somebody, you'll see that Vicki Dillard was one of the first one years ago, to bring this up on I think Fly Nubian Queen. They may have put it on Your Black World and some of the other ones at that time. I discussed this on African Diaspora News Channel years ago. I discussed some of this on other social media platforms. I was one of the originals that brought this to your attention years ago, and I was doing a follow-up broadcast on the fraud that is Jane Elliott. I discussed T.I.'s relationship with Jane Elliott in a different broadcast. I discussed Roland Martin's with his funny looking self that's from the subterranean realm, his relationship with Jane Elliott. I discussed some of you who are part of fraternities and sororities. I discussed some of you that hail and worship and glorify this fake pro-Black entity. I went off on some of you Black institutions in particular, and you Black organizations that give her big, fat, juicy honorariums to speak at your very Black schools and organizations and places of worship, paying her very white bills, paying her very white mortgages, paying her very white children's very likely, helping to put them through college. But you don't bring in the Vicki Dillards of the world. You elevate the word of this white woman over your own. And some of you give her a level of reverence and respect that you didn't even give the great Dr. Frances Cress Welsing when she was alive. Let me just shut you down real quick. Some of you biscuits are wickedly wild. Somebody put a bone in the chat. I said some of you biscuits out there, you sellouts. That's who I'm talking about when I'm talking about Bones and Biscuits. Because back in the day, when you sold out your people and you did the bidding of massa, one of the incentives was literally some chicken and biscuits sometimes. Literally. They would give you a food as your incentive. And if you did something real extraordinary, like help to unalive and get some of your folks murdered, or you snitched on an uprising, then you might have got your freedom. But for just everyday backstabbing, God, today, you got a biscuit, you got a bone, you got some crumbs. That's no exaggeration. That's not even name calling. That's actual, literal, factual history. Now, I took it from Bone. I coined the phrase years ago, Bones and Biscuits, because not only did you get biscuits and chicken and stuff for selling out your own and for benefiting massa while you're enslaved and oppressed. Y'all hit that thumbs up button, share, share, share. On the count of 3, hit it. 1, 2, 3, thumbs up. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. But the reason why I've inserted this notion of bone is because some of you all are so depraved. You are so disconnected from your human being properties because of your desperation to have nearness to whiteness. You will sell out your own to the point to where you're not just doing something for your even individual survival. You are willing to put the whole at risk. And actually, I said that wrong. It is for your individual survivors. That's what makes you depraved and anti-human. But you are willing to put the whole at risk for your selfish individual purposes, all while you shucking and jiving and smiling to appease and to please massa. So that's to a point to me to where you're not even human. We give biscuits to Rottweilers and terriers and stuff. Talk Black to me. So that is the point of that. We're talking about how you are willing to submit yourself. When massa gives you a bone and tells you to sit, you sit. Only a dog would sit for a bone, baby. And the point of talking about this is to remind you of your history and not to be like that. It's for you to course correct. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Now, I've mentioned this about Jane Elliott because this deserves review. The other day, I was on Instagram, and a pretty large platform, I just happened to be scrolling on my timeline because I really don't spend too much time on Instagram like that. So I happen to see on my timeline this large platform recently, I said. Shout out to my beautiful moderators in the chat. Our moderators family are highlighted in blue. Shout out to Miss Cheryl Fleming Woods. She's one of them now. They're going to be putting important links and important information in the chat. So be sure, family, to take notice of what they say. Thank you so very much to all of you that are tuned in. I've been hearing so many wonderful comments also from some of you on Twitter, and somebody commented on African Diaspora News Channel. Somebody else commented on, I think, another live chat about the fact that y'all have been receiving your Venus Luxury magazines, which is my magazine that I published recently. I'm already working on my winter edition for you. I'm making luxury accessible for the everyday woman. I just don't think it's right or fair that only millionaires and billionaires get to enjoy luxury. So we're redefining this notion of luxury, and we're determining to indulge. Yes, sis, I can't wait. In the magazines, I give you sacred goddess secrets, because the divine feminine woman, we're not supposed to manifest like a man. Talk black to me. Pleasure is one of the big ways that the divine feminine woman is meant to manifest. And so when there is a sense of ease and pleasure for us, baby, we can make all your dreams come true. Talk black to me. Talk black to me. So I'm so thankful for those of you that supported the magazine, but it's for you. And most importantly, the keys that I put in there is not just beautiful and interesting, it's you. And I want you to activate the affirmations. I want you to activate and act on the knowledge that you're hearing in there. Miss Cherie says it's absolutely luxurious, a beautiful magazine. Thank you so much, beloved. So I can't wait to do the next one too. Hey, nicey girl, it's good to see you, precious. So family, y'all hit that thumbs up button one more time. 1, 2, 3, thumbs up. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Yes, your sister with the curly braids. I talked about Jane Elliott years ago before anybody else was doing it. And, it's unfortunate that some things that I emphasize and talk about as a trendsetter, is because, it is what it is. But, it's funny how people act like that they all imagine. God, today they act like that what they see now and what they get in black media is because of them. Baby, y'all weren't even doing it like this. Don't even front. You take for granted the seamlessness and the loyalty, God, today, and the magic. I wasn't trained or inspired by nobody. I was doing this offline. I was this for real before I came online. Talk back to me. So I just be having to emphasize stuff, and we, and how we brought attention and giving momentum to some of the stuff that we're doing as a people. Talk black to me, somebody. Everybody hit that thumbs up button, share. Now I want you to watch this real quick. I want y'all to watch this real quick. This clip of Jane Elliott. I'm bringing it up because I've discussed her before. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. So I discussed this before years ago, but I need to bring it up again. Now, I was telling you, I was scrolling on Instagram on a large platform, and a large platform had the nerve to be quoting Jane Elliott. Are y'all hearing me? They had the nerve to be quoting Jane Elliott, singing her praises, dealing with her like she's Mary, God, today, like she's the Black Madonna or something around this piece. And so many people were looking at it and telling this white woman to go. And when I was talking about the fact that so many of our people listen to this woman, but she's just faking the funk. She's not really pro-black, because when you talk to her about actually holding white folks accountable for their racism, and specifically reparations and restitution, she's against it. So all of you like T.I., who was sitting there licking and lapping and bringing her on his platform, and when you think about folks like Roland Martin that basically told her she was black, and when you think about all of you, some of you religious people, you social groups, and some of you colleges, black colleges and universities, and other major news outlets, including Oprah Winfrey years ago. Now this clip, let me see if I can find it. I thought I had it lined up. Oh, I do. Now I'm not going to play the whole thing. I just want you to know this woman has been promoted and made into something that she ought not be by black folks, or I should say black looking people, for many, many decades, including Oprah.
Exercise in racism. And my guest, Jane Elliott, started this exercise a long time ago in her third grade class back in 1968 after the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King. What she's going to do is to demonstrate how easy it is to learn prejudice. The point being that we are taught to hate each other on the basis of the color of our skins. So today's audience was separated into two groups, not on the color of their skin, where they.
This is from 1992, family. I want you to watch this. And this video clip is under the Copyright Act of 1976, okay? Again, I'm not going to let you play the whole thing, but I just want you to see this because I don't want you to think I'm making this up.
People of color. My guest today is an Iowa school teacher, and for 20 years, and through her research and experience in the classroom, she's discovered some shocking news. She says that the news is that blue-eyed people have an inability to achieve, and brown-eyed people have higher intelligence. Welcome, Jane Elliott. Jane. And you came to that.
Okay, so Jane Elliott, y'all, is known for this test, this Blue Eyes group test that she used to do a long time ago, talking about racism, right? And they consider her to be, you know, a racial activist and this type of thing, right? So I'm bringing up Oprah because I want you all to know this is just how widespread and how well known you all helped to make her, acting like that she is a blessing to this topic of white supremacy and anti-black white supremacists. So after listening to some of you all, just like some of y'all love this white man named Tim Wise because he's always out there talking about white people not being racist and all this kind of stuff. But it's the same test. When you asked him about what you're supposed to do to repair it, these very seemingly anti-racist white folks that's going around here making a whole lot of money saying these things, when it comes down to saying, what do we do to hold white people accountable? What do we do to even the level of the playing fields? What do we do to restore black folks? Since you white people, Jane Elliott, go out there and tell the world how horrible your people have been to us and how terrible it is for them to keep this up. What do you propose to do in terms of accountabilities? What you propose for accountability? That's the test. And in each test, whether it's Tim Wise or Jane Elliott, they give us the big, fat middle finger. So here you are, excited that these white folks are out there talking about racism is wrong. And because they're white and saying it, you think this is rare. You say, wow, this is uncommon. You say white people never admit it like this. So let's bring them on and pay all their bills. Let's act like what they're saying is so profound. Let's cause them to have books and essays and speaking engagements and stuff like that. Let's put that all together for the handful of white people that's willing to admit that racism is bad. And then she got caught up on a couple of black podcasts that happened to ask her funny looking self in recent history about reparations. See, you old school Negroes didn't ask her about what matters. And this is why I'm saying this woman is a fraud. Somebody says she's been compromised. No, she ain't been compromised. She was always that way. King, she is not compromised. She's been that. It's just that you Negroes don't ask what matters. You only care if it looked like it's something. And then you wonder, even though she exists and a handful of others, and they get these big platforms talking about this, nothing substantively changes. They're not advocating that their people be held accountable. That's where we part ways. You don't get credit because you're willing to talk about anti-black racism. You get credit when you talk about what you're going to do about it. Somebody said, just like Bernie Sanders, you got that right. And that's why I always link him in. And I was always the one bringing that up about Bernie Sanders because you all, including Sean King some time ago, called Bernie Sanders a prophet. You Negroes look so pathetic. All y'all out there working on this campaign and singing the praises of Bernie Sanders. And then when he's asked questions about reparations for black people, Bernie believes in trillions of dollars in freebies for everybody, white and working class, and the rest of America. He believes you should get free education, free healthcare, free everything else. Okay, great. So then when you say, what about a specific check for the people who built America, created America, shed blood for America, were murdered for America? And the reason why other folks around the world say they want to go to a place to experience the American dream is based on our Black American nightmare. What do you think about those people getting at least one red cent for all that they've done? Bernie says, no. We don't respect none of you all. And if I hear any of you funny looking Negroes out there talking about it, you're going to get this everlasting work too. I showed you the clip of her.
First IMF director from an emergency.
I showed you the clip of her on Okra because we call Okra. Because I wanted you to see how long she's been in the business and how many of you blow her up and how none of you that gave her major platform and turned her into something never asked her the question that mattered. I'm going to tell you one reason in particular that I can't stand her, because she disrespected the philosophy of a Black woman that was shunned by Black folks, the very people that pay her to come into these colleges and universities and schools and churches. You guys wouldn't give Dr. Frances Cress Welsing the time of day. And Dr. Frances Cress Welsing was an academic. But you guys were upset because you didn't like how she used her intelligence. Vicki, play it. This video also is under the Copyright Act of 1976. Now, this video, I played a clip of this years and years ago. And when I say years and years ago, I'm thinking at least 3, because I'm thinking 2 or 3. Okay, this particular clip is from 2021. So it's been at least that long. I thought it was another one that, oh, actually it is another one that's out there, because I don't think this is the original one. I want you to listen to a little bit of what she says on this podcast. I've forgotten actually the name of the podcast. Oh, this is it. Socks and Sandals. Those are my brothers, Socks and Sandals, because they ended up reaching out to me later because they saw I used their clip. Socks and Sandals podcast. That's what it was. Socks and Sandals podcast. Now, this right here is not the whole clip right here. So it's actually another one that has a full clip, because this is just a short video clip, but it's enough to discuss you and for me to make my point. Talk Black to me. Family, listen to what she says when Socks and Sandals confront her on reparations for Black Americans and racism and all this kind of stuff. Listen to this. All Black folks built her up, blew her up, and said she's an ally.
Discrimination is worse than theirs.
Watch this.
Doesn't this all come down to survival? You know, doesn't this really come down to the fear of genetic annihilation?
Wait a minute.
Ignorance because nobody told me any better. Because you just explained, and also I've seen in the exercises that you do, people just flat out deny their position, or that
family. I'm gonna have to stop in between, family. I'm doing it like that because there are media reasons why you have to do that, especially on social media when you're using other people's clips. So don't get frustrated and don't tell me how to run the Vicki show. Thank you. Now, when I do that, I want you to pay attention to the look on Jane Elliott's face. Okay? I want you all to pay attention to the look on Jane Elliott's face while these brothers are talking. Okay? Let's start from the jump. Is this it?
And you know, and I know, that the reason we have made progress on the face of the earth is because of the brilliance of a whole lot of people of color.
Right. Jane, don't you think that what's going on and what has been going on is not necessarily ignorance because nobody told me any better? Because you just explained, and also I've seen in the exercises that you do, people just flat out deny their position, or that they've been, or that someone else's discrimination is worse than theirs. But doesn't this all come down to survival? You know, doesn't this really come down to the fear of genetic annihilation? If I allow myself, if I allow everyone that is melanated an equal playing field, a level playing field, then I won't be able to compete with them. I won't be able to stay in control.
Look at her.
My privileged
Look.
nice position, because no group wants to give up their privilege. And so isn't this about, you know, if I keep them here, then I can survive, because I know that my numbers are down all over the globe. I know that we're not procreating and reproducing. I know that the sperm count is low in males of European descent all over the globe, and it's been decreasing. Just like Brexit, I know if I continue to let immigrants come in, then melanated people are going to outnumber non-melanated people. They outproduce.
Look at her.
So isn't this more or less about genetic annihilation? Not just because I'm.
Wait a minute. Do you even think that the average person walking down the street even knows genetic annihilation?
No, it's subconscious.
Did you see the Karen emerge? Did you see the WKKK, white supremacists, the womb that birthed these anti-black terrorists? Did you see it start to shift? See, when she goes around the world talking about anti-black racism, all she discusses is just the fact that white folks need to stop being like this and we should just all get along. When the brothers say, isn't the reason y'all acting like this is because you fear genetic annihilation? Because she makes excuses for him. The brother said, you know, when he started the podcast, because I told you this is not the full clip. They must have put a short clip up a couple of years ago. I watched the whole podcast from before, and it's much longer than this 12 minutes. So she was basically making excuses for white folks, saying that they weren't taught right. So when you hear the brother start this portion of this segment off with, it's not about they weren't taught. Remember, he basically hints at that. It's not that they don't know better, they are not taught. He said, isn't it the fear of genetic annihilation? Did you see the look on her face when he said, you know, y'all sperm count is down all over the world. You're not producing, you know, it's just, did y'all see how he just matter of fact said, it's over, no matter where you are, you know, nobody's taking you out. It's just biologically, automatic, genetically. And she is about to blow a gasket. See, when she was on Oprah's show, Oprah didn't get into that. When she went on Roland's show and when she went on T.I.'s show and stuff, they didn't get into what really makes the white supremacists go crazy and why they really mostly all on the same team for the most part. Today.
It's subconscious.
Wait, we can talk about subconscious bias and conscious.
Watch this.
Produce us. So isn't this more or less about genetic annihilation? Not just because I'm.
Do you even think that the average person walking down the street even knows genetic annihilation?
No, it's subconscious. It's subconscious.
Wait a minute. We can talk about subconscious bias and conscious bias until hell freezes over. But that won't solve the problem. And we can use words of 4 and 5 and 6 syllables, and that solves the problem. You're going to have to talk in the language that the average human being in the United States understands. And here it is. You either
She means you need to talk in a way that's acceptable to country so-called working class white people. He was not using a word that's difficult to understand. He used 2 words, genetic annihilation. That's real easily Googleable. We know what genetic means. Talk black to me, somebody, without no college degree. And we know what annihilate means. That's a phrase that Frances Cress Welsing is known for. Talk black to me. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing is certainly known by Lily White Jane, what's her name? Elliott. God, they forgettable. Jane Elliott, because Jane Elliott was a teacher. This is why she's known for her little therapies and stuff that she would do with her class before she went global. And so he cut her off because this is something that Dr. Frances Cress Welsing talks about. And when she says you can talk about subconscious bias, you funny looking Karen. Dr. Frances, who is a psychiatrist, that means she's a physician, not only because of her multiple degrees in her academic excellence and prowess and credentials, Because of her direct work with white and black clients, Dr. Francis told us that genetic annihilation is what drives them consciously and subconsciously. In other words, there's a group of white people that do what they do because they know their time is coming to an end. So they do things intentionally to destroy black people. And then she showed us, as a psychiatrist, that many of them are moved subconsciously, meaning they automatically doing it without consciously thinking about it. Their actions prove it in no limit of time because it's genetically written in them. Did you catch that, family? In a similar way, the color of your eyes and some of y'all's height and the way your hair is and some of your biological setup is, it's genetics for you, right? It's automatic. Similarly, there's a thing that's happening on the inside of the oppressive class to where they act and they move and they behave a certain way, whether they're specifically taught it or not. So she's disrespecting Jane Elliott. I mean, she's disrespecting our great mother, Dr. Francis Cress Wells, again, trying to shut him off, talking about don't get into these 5 and 6 syllable words and all of this kind of stuff, and talking about the average person. No, it's not that silly. Woman, we're diagnosing what the real issue is with y'all. She don't want us to go that deep. Jane Elliott wants us to think that this is just something that's just cute with white supremacy and just tell white people to stop acting like this and let's all get along. Don't talk about what drives them to act like a beast. And for God's sake, don't say we have any responsibility to do anything about what we've done to y'all. Jaron, I wish you could be put before the world with your peculiar understanding. Thank you, precious. Baby, we doing it bit by bit. Thumbs up, everybody. Share, share, share. Y'all keep listening.
Behaviors today, or you're going to suffer greatly tomorrow. Now, if you want your children to survive in the future, you better change your ideas about miscegenation, because the hole in the ozone layer is getting larger and larger. And as the hole in the ozone layer gets larger and larger, more and more sunlight enters our environment, and more pale faces are going to suffer from melanoma, which is a skin cancer which can spread throughout your body, which happens because you don't have any protection from the dangerous rays of the sun. Now, you can tell that to people in 1 and 2 and 4 syllables, and they can understand that, and then they can say, oh my God, maybe I better be nicer to these people who are going to be running this show in the future. If people your age who are pale faces want to survive to be my age, they better change their behaviors now. Because by the time you're my age, you will be in a majority group instead of the minority color-wise in this country. That's a fact. We have to stop. In the first place, we don't teach real history. We teach a lie that we made up to make white folks feel good.
And a part of that lie is what she's talking about. See, when white folks don't want to hear that you are fearing genetic annihilation, when we as your black mothers like Dr. Francis Cress Welsing sits down to diagnose you after looking at your very long, centuries-old history, an unbroken record of bloodshed and terrorism. Today. And we have our own scientists that know a lot more about your biological makeup, which we ain't gonna get into right now on the Vicki Show because some of these platforms talk black to me, family. Y'all don't want to hear it. Everybody hit that thumbs up button, please. Share, share, share. And by the way, family, my new Mastermind school starts January 2nd for only $45 a month. Class launches January 2nd. That's only a few days away. In order for you to receive the link in a few days, the direct link, my team is going to give it to you. Be sure, beloved, to make sure that you're on my email list at VickiPlanet.com. We're putting it in the chat right now. VickiPlanet.com. We're going to pin it at the top. Make sure you're on the email list there so that you are directly notified, okay? Make sure you're on the email list ASAP. It's only $45. Your whole life will change. You're going to receive a lot of spiritual information. You don't need to be religious. I don't care what background you come from. I don't care if you're Christian, you're Muslim, you're Jewish. I don't care if you're Hindu, you're Buddhist. I don't care if you're atheist. Spiritual principles is about the essence. So this is what this is about. And my principles I draw from multiple sacred books and texts, but most importantly, I channel specific information that's been given to me from the High Council. And I discuss with you some of my supernatural encounters and some of the things that I do in my rituals and routines and formulas that I use to tap into that. I don't pretend to be somebody I'm not. God, today. Give me 12 months for only $45 a month. It will absolutely change your life. And if you want to have the edge in every area of your life, this is for you. VickiPlanet.com, the link. I think I posted it. Did I post it? Yeah, I think it's pinned at the top. Family, keep listening to this madness.
Don't teach history.
But being the majority doesn't mean that you have power.
What?
Being the majority has
What?
nothing to do with a power structure, a power dynamic. The
it can
pale
have
faces in
something to
South
do with
Africa have never been the majority, but they have all the power.
Come on.
But it can have something to do with it if you have intelligent, if you have civilized and educated human beings, if you have people who know the truth instead of the lie, if you stop allowing your morals to be dictated by the picture of a white man hanging on a cross, that might be a step in the right direction if we would teach people that in the Bible it says that Jesus had woolly hair and feet of bronze. We might think about that occasionally. This miseducation starts pre-birth and it continues until after you're dead. We need to make pale-faced people aware of the damage that is being done to them by their own ignorance. And I really love to say,
I need y'all to listen to what she suggested. This white woman is suggesting that Black people help do the work of educating our terrorists. She wants us to sit them down and help them understand. Y'all biologically ain't going to be here long. We're going to be in majority. And so it might be a good idea to treat us right and be our brothers and sisters. That is her master plan that you Negroes love about Jane Elliott. That's an embarrassment to all of you that's out there that push that madness. That madness being Jane Elliott. The brother made an excellent point by telling her majority is not just something. It's not a strong strategy, because he made the point, for example, in South Africa after apartheid there's a Black majority, but yet the white South Africans over there are running over the Black South Africans. And this is the reason why the United States and others are helping to attack South Africa, because they're holding those over there that they call the Boers, the Boers. Those are the white South Africans. They're mad because folks like Julius Malema, he's part of the EFF party, the Economic Freedom Fighter Party in South Africa, as well as some members of the ANC, which some folks feel are not as effective as they once used to be. But nevertheless, these different groups and other South Africans are still proposing legislations and actions to redistribute the land that would never belong to those whites over there. It freaked out America so much that even under Donald Trump, did you all know that even Donald Trump weighed in to try to tell Black South Africans to leave white farmers alone and leave their land alone, and basically tell them don't try to redistribute the land that don't belong to them? Do you all realize that this pisses off America so much that even when Donald Trump was in office, he weighed in to try to tell South Africa what to do? And right now, your U.S. government, the foreign affairs committees hold hearings to strategize and to discuss making changes to their bilateral relationship with South Africa. In part because of that, in part because of their BRICS affiliations, in part because of their connection and relationship to China and Russia, in part because of where they are strategically and geopolitically situated, meaning in terms of minerals, meaning in terms of some of their relationships with the AU, meaning in terms of even some of the weight and the influence that they have with other nations, that's very strategic to the ports system, transportation, in addition to energy and mineral resources. If you're not watching my geopolitical breakdowns, family, especially like on African Diaspora News Channel and stuff that I'm doing more and more here, you're missing it. He made a beautiful point by letting her know that doesn't matter. So she tried to shut that down with this nonsensical point that she's trying to make. But we're not done. I want you to just keep listening, family. We're almost finished.
We can solve this problem by talking about the past, or that we can solve this problem by making payments to Black people. But if you're going to do it that way, then first you have to pay off the Native Americans whose land.
Did y'all hear that? Now she's talking about reparations and payments. She said, if you're going to give Black folks money, first you're going to have to help the Indians, the Native Americans. Yeah, I'm all for this anti-Blackness because ain't nobody else listening to her but Black folks. But concerning us, she said, oh, I'm all for that. But they need to get paid first. Are y'all listening?
And whose homes we took and whose people we killed in the millions.
No, they got paid. They got paid. They have land.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
They have land. They have reservations, and they also have economic.
Oh, yeah. And would you like to talk to me about reservations and what a wonderful payment that is? Would you like to be on a reservation? Would you be willing to, and would all the Black people in this country be willing to take a reservation?
That's what the Nation of Islam was asking for.
Well, was that a smart thing to do? I don't think it was.
It depends on who's driving that car, who's the captain.
Go to a Navajo reservation and see if you think you'd like to live that way.
No, I've been to a reservation. I've been to a reservation in
Did you think it was a really comfortable place to be?
Say it again.
Do you think it was a really comfortable place to be?
The way that they were living, no, I wouldn't live like that.
Oh, okay. But
y'all look how crazy she looks.
Is a prison for Black people.
Live that way.
No,
she's sitting here defending who she calls natives, people that you call the red folks. She's sitting up here talking about when it comes down to Black folks getting reparations, she wants them to get money first. So when the brother said, no, we didn't pay them. They got land, reservations. She goes, well, it's not the best place to live. If it's not the best place to live, who's the one that's upkeeping the land? They got land and they get money, resources, and every free thing every single month. What is you talking about, woman? Isn't that crazy? So because they're not maintaining essentially their own township, the other resources that we continue to give them, the billions and billions that they get on a regular basis every year from the United States of America because of those treaties. Treaties, by the way, that include Black folks that Dr. Claude Anderson has been in court for, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars of his own money because those resources, much of those resources were meant for us as well. We know that the original so-called native people were actually what? Originally Black-skinned folks. I'm going to read you an excerpt in just a minute to break this down for you, but listen, I'm almost done.
I've been to a reservation. In
Did you think it was a really comfortable place to be?
Say it again.
Do you think it was a really comfortable place to be?
The way that they were living, no, I wouldn't live like that.
Oh, okay.
Look how she acted.
The whole planet is a prison for Black people. So like it can't get any worse for Black people. So you can't. I'm not gonna look at somebody else and say, oh shoot, like I don't want my own land. I don't want a shot at that. I would never say that. A Black person is not going to say, I don't want to have a chance to create my own civilization,
my own
society. Everybody wants that chance, and everybody deserves that chance. And Black people deserve reparations in the form of land, in the form of cash payments, and in the form of some type of tax consideration.
Yes.
So, yeah, it may not have worked out for the natives, but this is 2020, and this is a totally different group of people, and everybody is not the same. Everybody's leaders are not the same, and so I'm not going to judge, or I'm not going to project onto Black people in America. Well, if this is what happened to the natives, you don't want that, and I'm damn sure not going to say, well, we need to pay the natives. Natives already got paid. They already made their deals. They already signed treaties.
Exactly.
They've already done what they did, and if they squandered their opportunity, that's on that group.
Come on.
Now it's time for this group to get its opportunity and to get its reparations.
Everybody put some Black hand claps in the chat. Somebody say, shout out to this intelligent Black man from Socks and Sandals podcast. I knew this video was older than what I initially thought. He even said it here that this was 2020. So we're about to go into 2024. So when this initially came out, I discussed this a few years ago. Somebody put some black hand claps in the chat. For some reason, my chat ain't working that well, so I can't really see. But I hope y'all put the black hand claps in the chat. Didn't he shut her down? Didn't he say what we look like, in other words? Sitting up there talking about because they didn't upkeep their land, that black folks shouldn't have the right to own their own land and run their own townships and operate in divine black sovereignty. You see how he's shutting down the stupidity of this illogical caring that you ninjas out there promoting and pumping up and giving big fat honorariums to, and she don't even believe that white folks should be held accountable for what they did to us. Y'all don't ask these questions because you're so excited to have a white woman there saying one little thing about racism. But when you say, and that, family, is always a test for anybody that claims they're for us, is when we say, what must we do about it? When we say that you should at least pay us the money that you're paying white Ukrainians and Afghans and legal and illegal immigrants and LGBTQ and everybody else and your open enemy that y'all still giving all of these breaks to. The moment you say that y'all giving them protections, political protections, you're giving some of them political protections, and you're giving a lot of them tangibles and resources. When we say at the very minimum, you got to do the same for us, everybody says everybody else need to come before us. Or they say no, or they make some kind of excuse. This white woman not only argued against us getting it, she was belligerent. She was angry. Wasn't she? And she was defending a whole other group that's guilty when it comes down to black oppression. What do I mean? I don't know why this chat is acting like this. I may have to look on my other device here. Everybody hit that thumbs up button, would you? Everybody hit that thumbs up. I hope y'all can hear and see and hear me okay. Thumbs up, share, share, share. Thumbs up, share, share, share. Everybody be sure to join, get your $45 together for to change your life for your monthly mastermind. Hit the link above and make sure that you're on my email list. That way my team will send you the direct registration link in a few days when we get ready to go live. Class launches January 2nd, which is my 45th birthday. That's the reason why we are only charging $45 a month, and your life will never be the same. I'm going to read you a very brief excerpt, and I got to run, family, from Dr. Claude Anderson's book, More Dirty Little Secrets. I have a few more of these because I bought a whole bunch of his books in bulk, but we're getting low on them now because I bought so many some time ago. But some of you have been purchasing from my website. If not, you can purchase them at powernomics.com, I believe. But I'm a supporter of our black leadership. Talk black to me, somebody. Now, look at this. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Share, share, share. Family, why am I reading this excerpt from Dr. Claude's book, More Dirty Little Secrets? You all know he has several books. More Dirty Little Secrets. This is actually volume 2 to his original book. Listen to what he says on page 11. Y'all ready for this? Black family. I said, are y'all ready for this? Jane Elliott. See, I want y'all to tag some of the people that I name and other folks that sit up here singing her praises, including all the HBCU schools and others. Tag them for this. Watch this. On page 11, it's titled First Revolt of Indian Held Slaves. Jane Elliott. Paging Jane Elliott. Class in session. Class in session. Let me educate you. You going around the world like you are educated. Let me put you in check real quick with your ignorant self. In 1842, Jane, one of the nation's first and biggest slave revolts occurred in the newly established Oklahoma Territory between Indian slaveholders. What did I say? Indian slaveholders and their enslaved blacks. Did Jane know that? Did Jane Elliott know that some of the Indians that she's sitting up here advocating for enslaved us. Listen, Black slaves revolted, killed a large number of Indians, and took off for freedom in Mexico. Just like white slaveholders, I'm going to say it one more time because I think Jane might miss this. Just like white slaveholders, Indians pursued runaway Blacks nearly to the Mexican border. En route, the Blacks armed themselves and had running battles with the Indians. A final battle took place just a short distance from the Mexican border. Many Blacks and Indians died in the battle, but Indians captured a large number of runaway Blacks and returned them to slavery in the Oklahoma Territory. Jane. So you ninjas that's out there singing her praises, I'm not a professional, I'm not a teacher like that. So why is it that I'm having to tell you this? This is knowable. They remained slaves throughout the Civil War. When we tell you that the whole damn system is guilty, we mean the whole damn system. There ain't nobody that did not participate in anti-Black slavery or oppression in some form or another, including them folks that's over there taking out the Palestinians. I said there's nobody that who want to talk about oppression for their groups, for which we acknowledge may have been wrong. We were forced to learn about your history, but we keep trying to tell you that your Holocaust and your times of terrorism pales because it did not last 500 years most intently, and all y'all got reparations. Somebody said, don't forget Tim Wise. I didn't get for Tim Wise. I mentioned his name several times at the beginning of the broadcast, beloved. Make sure you watch the whole broadcast, okay? Listen. What did I say? While the nation was at war, the 5 civilized Indian tribes held no less than 10,000 African Blacks in captivities. Although in 1865, the United States government signed freedom agreements and paid all the tribes to free their Black slaves, Jane, she ain't ready for this part, paging Jane Elliott. Jane, listen, Jane. Jane, did you know that in 1865, y'all hit that thumbs up button. Jane, let me hit the gavel. Jane, with your funny looking self, get your. Jane, did you know that in 1865, the United States signed freedom agreements and paid, somebody put dollar signs. This is separate from their land family. They paid all the tribes to free their Black slaves. The Choctaws, the Chickasaws did not free their Black slaves for another 2 or 3 years. Jane, with your funny looking self, they owe us reparations too, trick. Did you hear what I said, little girl? Y'all better get your books and your pens and pads out. While Professor Vicki Dillard teach you something. The freedom agreements required, Jane, Indians not only to free Blacks they were holding in captivity, Jane, but to also give slaves money and free land. How are y'all bringing her into your academic institutions? And she's sitting up here lying about history or willfully ignorant about it. Promoting Indian, doing something for them first. The moment you talk about Black reparations, she pivots to them. They were to give the slaves money and free land. The Indians did not release. The Indians did not release. Jane, the Indians did not release. Once again, Jane Elliott, the Indians did not release their Black captives in the agreed upon time frame and never gave them land or money. Does she know that there's a such thing as freedom agreements that the Indians signed? Does she know about that? This is the reason why I rely on intelligent Black academics and economists like the great Dr. Claude Anderson, because you ninjas are missing it. Immediately following the Civil War, watch this, because Black folks ended up holding their funny looking selves accountable. Immediately following the Civil War, Jane, former Black Union soldiers were converted into Buffalo Soldiers and assigned to police duty in the developing Western frontier. When did she know that? This was the first time the Black Buffalo Soldiers got a chance to reverse roles with American Indians who had sided with European whites in slavery and the Civil War. Jane, you're clear now that the Indians sided with the white Europeans concerning slavery and in the Civil War. Jane, as horrible and as terrible and as devilish as America is, there were certain agreements signed with some of the tribes where the government gave them money. And they signed legally that they would release us and pay us money and give us land. They didn't do that to some of the tribes, Jane. They didn't return some of the slaves, Jane. They fought some of the slaves. They enslaved the slaves. They were no different than the white Western slaveholders, Jane. Some could even argue in some instances worse because they refused to give land after they were paid to pay us. And they refused to release us after there was an agreement to release us. Jane. The Buffalo Soldiers. They were assigned to police duty in the developing Western frontier. This was the first time the Black Buffalo Soldiers got a chance to reverse roles with American Indians who had sided with European whites in slavery in the Civil War. Black Buffalo Soldiers fought successful battles with various Indian tribes. Jane. These Buffalo Soldiers fought successful battles with various Indian tribes from the Mississippi River to California. One Black Buffalo Soldier wrote a poem that reflected their racial pride and the confidence that Blacks had in their military skills and commanding white officer. The poem is highlighted here in the middle. The 9th marched out with splendid cheer, the bad lands to explore. With Colonel Henry at their head, they never fear the foe. So on they rode from Christmas Eve till dawn of Christmas Day. The Redskins heard the 9th was near, and they fled in great dismay. Somebody please tell her to sit. Please tell her to sit her funny looking self down. This woman y'all bring into your Black academic institutions. Conflict between Indians and Black Americans continues to this very day. Before 1970, American Indians, Jane ain't gonna like this especially. Jane, are you ready for this, Jane? Jane! Do y'all understand this is another reason they don't like Dr. Claude? See, Dr. Claude, like Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, they're academics, but the academic community don't like how they use their Black intelligence. When you have people like Dr. Francis Cress Welsing that uses her academics to say that white folks are moved by genetic annihilation, white genetic annihilation, and when you see the Dr. Claude that's pushing for reparations, resources from treaties, benefits that are inscribed in treaties that belong also to Black folks, when they call out this kind of history, they don't like you. But Dr. Claude revealed, I'm going to end it here. Before 1970, American Indians were accepted as a subcategory of whites. What did Jane know that? Did Jane know that? I told you she wasn't really going to like that part. If all that other stuff was scary, she really ain't going to like that part. Blacks and Indians matched and mixed occasionally during the 400 years this country was developing. But today, Indian tribes, especially Cherokee and Seminoles, have petitioned the federal government to exclude Blacks. Jane, did you know that the Cherokee and Seminoles petitioned the federal government to exclude Blacks who claim to have Indian blood from land grants? Jane? Inherited rights or financial settlements between the federal government and Indians? Since there are no benefits associated with being Blacks, Indians like others, distance themselves from Blacks. Did Jane know? that American Indians were accepted as a subcategory of whites? Did Jane know that literally Cherokee and Seminole Indian tribes petitioned the federal government to exclude blacks who claim to have Indian blood from the land grants, inherited rights, or financial settlements between the federal government and Indians? Did Jane know they enslaved us too? Did Jane know that some of them got into agreements with the government and the government gave them money and they signed on the dotted line promising to not only give us freedom by a certain time, but to pay us land and resources, and they didn't? You better get your sick self out of my face. And every one of you ninjas that would turn around and act like this woman is for us. The same way y'all were hailing Bernie Sanders, as one of you all mentioned earlier, I give him no credit, because the test is always, what do you think ought to be done about Black folks getting reparations and accountability? And if these good white folks that y'all so love and pay and promote and elevate say that absolutely nothing should be done about us, but folks like Bernie says trillions should go to every American for free college and free health care, but God forbid you give a specific check to Black folks, you are an enemy. And every one of you Negroes that bring her in. My sister said, share this powerful video. That's right, Miss Sharice. I got to run. I just had to let you all know that this woman is a big, fat fraud. And be sure to send everybody that link, especially these modern HBCU folk that have these platforms out here that's singing the praises of this white woman in a way that you never would your own. Another reason I wanted to go off about the way you all elevate her over your own was this Ebony piece that was written by this pathetic so-called academic mind. How many of y'all know Gregory Carr? Dr. Gregory Carr was one of the ones that continues to disrespect us sitting on Roland's platforms. The useless Black boule who think they're somebody because they got a degree at a college somewhere and they feel like that because they're subject verb agreement professionals that their words should resonate. How many of you all remember I was the one that broke the news that nobody was watching? That interview that Mark Lamont Hill and Dr. Michael Eric Dyson, both who are professors, well-known professors, and who make the media runs. They were both doing an interview together, and they literally said out of their mouths, they expressed their disgust with folks like us because they feel like that we're chosen over them. And they literally said out loud, and I'm paraphrasing, basically because of all of the academic work that they've done, they should have preference and priority over us. They should have a level of respect and renown that we get. We shouldn't have it. They should. They literally were having this conversation. And again, I'm paraphrasing, but this is literally a part of what they said, and I did a broadcast on it and played you all some of the clips. And thank God some of you others did too. They admitted that we were defeating them using alternative media. And they were bitter about it. You ninjas are the ones who disrespect us, and you disrespect those types. Because Mark Lamont Hill disrespected Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. I did a broadcast on that years ago. When Dr. Frances Cress Welsing passed, do you know that Mark Lamont Hill liked on and basically endorsed an LGBT person that wrote a piece on Dr. Frances passing? The woman wasn't buried yet. And that LGBT person, because they didn't like the fact that Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, in her book, she exposed the fact that there was basically going to be an LGBT agenda coming against the Black man. And she was right. She prophesied it decades ago. So they don't like her because of that, the LGBTQ community, the Black LGBTQ community. And Mark Lamonte, with his juicy looking self, liked on it and basically agreed, good riddance, when the announcement was made that she passed. Mark Lamont Hill was basically thanking God and congratulating it by endorsing that person's message they put out. Now y'all see why I went off on his funny looking self for disrespecting our Black elder that wasn't even buried yet and basically was saying good riddance to her. And it was all because the LGBT Black community didn't like the fact that she made that clear. So they disrespected her in death. Gregory Carr who wrote this piece for Ebony Magazine when Dr. Francis passed. This is one of Roland's favorite persons. Look at, I just want you to know he's the one that wrote it. I'm showing you his name. He wrote this piece concerning her passing. You can pull it up and read it. But I want you to read, I want to read the relevant part of what I'm saying. He says the dimensions of her work that critique whiteness and its cultural impact fit comfortably today within the larger range of what are now called whiteness studies and even elements of critical race theory. Even the casual reader of the work of academics and writers like David, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Rodiger, and others that he lists, he says, would find Wesleyan is not alone in their interrogation of the intersections of race, class, gender, biology, and power. But watch what he says in the next paragraph, which is a single sentence. But unfortunately, I don't believe she would be remembered along with those names. Much of the controversy around Wesleyan's ideas on the topic of race comes from an ignorance of the full range of her actual words and ideas. Many of her critics never met her or read little to none of her work. Some of the more informed criticisms mistake her focus on the roots of whiteness. He goes on. Then he gets into the homosexuality part. And these people, when he talks about the life and legacy of Dr. Frances Cress Welsing continues to be celebrated and debated, there is no doubt that in 21st century, racism remains an intractable part, because he says that he doesn't believe she's going to be named with those other individuals, which he admits is unfortunate. I give him that. The unfortunate part of Dr. Gregory Carr, I have to look at his name because he's forgettable too. I forget his name. Is that these are the same individuals that mock and refuse to elevate and to promote such individuals and put her out there. And they will side with such as the Roland Martins of the world, types. I'm trying to let you all know the types that they roll with. And those types of academics over endorsing and elevating these particular names. I wanted to bring that up because I don't feel that we have a duty to not forcefully elevate folks like Dr. Frances Cress Welsing over and against the Jane Elliott's, because it was on Roland's platform. Because I'm bringing up Mr. Carr here, Dr. Carr here. They're on platforms together where they worship and glorify this Jane Elliott chick. But they try to psychoanalyze Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. And I don't feel they give her the full-throated endorsement that she deserves. That's where I'm going with this. And I feel that because of their passiveness toward her, which I'm not saying he was fully disrespectful, Carr that is, against her. But when you don't give a full-throated endorsement of our sister, but instead give a full-throated platform and endorsement for the Jane Elliott's of the world, you make room for the Dr. Mark Lamont Hills that's within the same group as the Dr. Carrs that comes straight out upon learning of her passing and said, good riddance. I hope you caught that. My name is Vicki Dillard. Thank you so much for tuning in. I love you all so much. I can't wait to see you January 2nd. Be sure to hit that link, which is my website. And all you need to do is make sure you're on my email list. If you're on my email list, you can be sure that you're going to receive a notification for the direct registration link just a few days before January 2nd. I love you so much. I'm your sister with the curly braids. All of you that give on my Cash App, which is sometimes in the chat and all that, I just want you all to know I see your gifts. Those of you that give to PayPal and all that, I just want you to know that your gifts are blessed 1,000-fold. I can't wait to see you again.